Members, the House is resumed. Before the dinner break, we were on the first reading of the South Taranaki District Council Coal Creek Rural Water Supply Bill. Jonathan Young was speaking and has 3 minutes remaining. Jonathan Young.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my pleasure to stand in support of this bill, and no doubt, and hopefully tonight, members of the Pihama and Tikiri communities will be watching the progress of this bill through the House of Parliament. My own family roots go back to Pihama, and my mother and her family from there and forebears. And so I know the people of Pihama and Tikiri very, very well. They're industrious, hard-working New Zealanders who work on the farms of that particular area where irrigation is incredibly important. And as we know by what the Honourable Chester Burrows said in his speech back in the mid-80s, there was tremendous commitment by the farming community to invest in the Coal Creek reticulation water supply. And it needs to be reiterated again, Mr. Speaker, that for the farmers who contributed to that scheme, they raised their own personal capital to the vicinity of around about $45,000 back in 1984, which we would know would buy a sizeable house in any part of New Zealand, particularly in Auckland, where we know that those properties now would most likely sell for $250,000 plus. So it was a substantial investment that they made at that particular time. And we also know that the government subsidised dollar for dollar for that investment. But it came on a condition, Mr. Speaker, that that this project was going to enhance production for the farmers. And talking to farmers who still farm in that area today, but who can remember back to that time in the mid-80s and the 90s, they did see a significant production lift. So when the previous speaker from the other side made comments about the taxpayer, whether they were going to have their interests looked after in this investment or reinvestment, divestment into the local community, their increased production, no doubt, Mr. Speaker, contribute hundreds of thousands of dollars of increased revenue to the people of New Zealand. And I guess that's something that the other side don't realise, that private enterprise, hard work, investment of this kind is what makes this country work. And we need to recognise that. We need to recognise the contribution they have made, the ownership, the management that over this last decade that has been invested into them already, and support this bill that is going to recognise that, and also, Mr. Speaker, that the future of this scheme is going to continue to enhance the profitability of these farming communities. It's a very important thing, Mr. Speaker, and I'm very happy to support this bill as it goes through to the Select Committee stage. Thank you.
Is there any further speakers? Members, Sister. The Minister in reply, 5 minutes in reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for the opportunity.